Just an audio check.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It may be noisy on my end. I'll have to see how it goes.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. I know you're juggling here. I think we're waiting for Bob. Martin's here. Bob was the only other one that I heard from who's coming, and he has a hard stop at 7:50. So the goal was to try to get us started and moving forward, since we actually have a little bit of a shorter agenda here.
Do we have enough people to
We do
start?
have a quorum, and Anna, actually, you had been appointed as a regular full member now, correct?
Oh, I have? Cool.
Yes. Oh, so actually, you'll technically have to be sworn in, so we can seat you as the alternate before you're, sworn in again as a regular member, but we still have, with Lee not being here today, you can be seated, and then I would recommend visiting the town clerk's office to get sworn in as a regular member. And
Oh, awesome.
yeah,
Okay,
so that's
yeah.
great.
I'll do that this week.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Okay. Well, it looks like we have everybody here.
Oh, here's
So
Bob.
I-
Yeah.
I'd like to open the Madison Inland Wetlands and Watercourses agency meeting of March 6, 2023 at 7:02. And I guess our first order of business is to swear in Anna Loth as an alternate. Do we just seat her?
Excellent. Yep.
And that's it. Great. Okay. All right. So
I can give a quick update, Madam Chair, on the status of a couple of applications in case we have any attendees who are interested in those applications.
that'd be great.
The first is 31 Stony Lane, which is scheduled for the continuation of their public hearing. application number 22-42. As the applicant has been working on responding to the third-party reviews comments, they have basically exhausted their statutory timeframe to grant any extensions. And so the applicant has decided to withdraw the application and will reapply, hoping to incorporate all of the previous application materials, moving forward and restarting the time clock, essentially. So they will likely be before you at your next meeting with a submission and requesting to do that. So that has been formally withdrawn. And the second update is for application number 2306, that's number 14 New Road. And the applicant is working with the adjacent landowner where their easement falls across. And so they're requesting an additional time frame to table the meeting, the discussion for this until the April meeting. So they're not here to present this evening. And that's everything else is on track.
Okay. Well, so that looks like we move on to application 23-05, 11 Yankee Peddler Path. This is an application where we did a site walk last month, and they want to put a pool, and they had it staked out for those of you on the site walk. Are there any questions, remaining questions for the applicant?
So both the property owner is here this evening, as well as the pool contractor, Mike Martocci from Poolscapes. Many of you were on the site walk where we walked the site, and the pond was pretty visible, clear on site, and also delineated as the limits of the inland wetland as a watercourse, basically, without any upland wetland area. And the pool location was staked in the field, and construction access was shown or indicated to be along the east side of the house, opposite from the pool. And again, I can share the site development plan for the commission if you'd like to go through that again, just to refresh your memory here and get that onto the record. And then if the property owners or Michael have any additional information to share, we can allow you to do that as well. Does that sound good?
Yes, that sounds perfect. Thanks.
Okay, so let me share your site plan. This is kind of the zoomed out view here. This is Yankee Peddler off to the right-hand side of the page with a long access driveway here, the pond, which is north of our page, but is essentially west on the property, I believe. The inland wetland delineation here that Richard Snarsky field delineated on site. And here's the proposed pool location, with the closest disturbance is the fence line at 68.07 feet away. And again, as we indicated, construction access would be along this portion of the property. This is existing lawn area for anyone who was not at the site meeting. Can everyone see, or would you like me to zoom in?
I can see. Are there, so do
Okay.
any of the commission members have questions for the applicant or Mr. Martucci?
There is a limit of disturbance shown as the silt fence line here.
I just wanted to confirm that, during the site walk, there was mentioning that the access to the construction area would be along the side of the house where the driveway comes in.
This side.
Yeah, that's where the access is going to be. I just wanted to confirm that and make that part of the record.
Yes, that is correct. Hi, everyone. Mike, Poolscapes, if you could see me or hear me, hopefully. We will be access. That's really the only way we can access is through the driveway side. The septic system is in the front of the house, so we couldn't drive through in there. We couldn't access that way anyway. So, yes, 100% on the driveway side.
Okay. Joe, did you have a question? You had indicated that we couldn't hear you. No, we can't hear you. I don't think your audio is working. I can stop sharing in case.
Oh, wait, did Joe leave? No, he's there.
He's muted.
He has a chat. I'm cool with the plan based on the gentle slope. Okay, thanks, Joe.
Okay.
It's
Um,
gonna be one of those meetings.
yep. Well, Aaron
Okay.
has prepared a draft resolution that hopefully people have had a chance to look at. Does anybody, since it seems
I
that
can
it's
share
pretty,
that too.
Okay.
If that's helpful.
it seems like it's pretty quiet. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve application 23-05 for 11 Yankee Peddler Path for the installation of an in-ground pool in the wetland review area in accordance with the March 6th memo from Aaron.
Anybody want a second?
A second.
All right, Tom second. So is there any discussion? And Aaron,
Yes,
can we just have, as Martin put in his motion, referencing this memo, will that be okay? As long as we're not changing anything, to just reference that
the-
instead of reading the whole thing?
sure. And these are standard conditions, just to let the applicant know, typically notifying the wetland office 48 hours prior to any site disturbance, so that we can basically go out and check your ENS controls. And then that you need to keep your sedimentation and erosion controls up on site until it's fully stabilized.
Got it.
All right, there's no discussion. We're starting pretty quiet here. All in favor of this motion to approve?
Aye.
I
Excellent. Thank you, and enjoy your pool.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I have to step away for about 120 seconds. I have a situation. I think
Sure.
Good. Oh, thank you.
Okay, well, I will talk slowly. So the next application, we're all on a timeline tonight.
Yeah.
The next application is 23-07, 304 Cops Road. Again, this is, we went out for a site walk last month. This is for trees to be removed. There's going to be a replacement of the septic system as well as an addition to a house and installing a patio. So I don't know, Aaron, does it make sense? Do you want to share the site plan as you did in the previous one? Or the revised site plan?
I'm assuming Chuck would like me to.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, Chuck Mandel, very much so, Aaron.
Okay.
And actually, we just sent you one today that we sent to the health department, which is the final, should be the final septic area also. It was an email I sent earlier this afternoon.
I believe revised 227.
Yes.
That's the
so.
latest one we have.
Okay.
So I can I can get that. And although Martin is not here, we still have 5 regular, members seated, so we can proceed while we're waiting for Martin. And if he gets back for this, he's welcome to act, and if not, he can abstain. But just in the effort of moving forward, because I know we do have some commissioners who have some time constraints. Okay, so I will share
Can you hear me now?
the. Yes, we can hear you very faintly, Joe.
Okay, I'll turn up the volume. At least you can hear me.
Yep, you're connected though. That's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
Okay, so this is kind of the zoomed out end, just so you can see the full property lines, right? This is Cops Road here on your left-hand side of the stream. Excuse me, the screen. The stream is down here. Okay, so I'll just kind of zoom in here, Chuck, and you can.
Okay, perfect.
Go
So Chuck Mandel. So if the commission remembers, we had approval to remove some trees. Those were in circles. The red circles are to be removed. We just submitted a plan for the septic system for a code complying septic system. Presently, the tank is right adjacent to the house. And we're not really sure where the effluent goes. It might be dry wells. So what we are proposing is to put in a code complying septic system. And if you look at the cross section to your right, Erin, on the map, this system, so the bottom right there where it says cross section. So this, the entire system is going to be subsurface. So there's going to be no additional fill brought in. There's no grading associated with this. The little dashed area you see around the septic system, that's strictly for some select fill, and that's going to be all subsurface. We did encounter some unnatural, human transported material, and that's why that fill is to be removed, and we're going to be putting in the select fill. In addition, the homeowner, Mr. Duquesne, also stated that, I believe during the walk, he informed me that he was going to actually remove the stumps. So I do have a typical section there of putting wood chips around these stumps to be removed. And I was speaking with John Cunningham, a landscape architect, and I explained the trees, and he estimated about 13 cubic yards of root mass will be coming out, and that's just going to be replaced with topsoil. So there's going to be no additional grading. It's going to be an equal swap of material. We are also proposing, if you look around the addition to the house, there's going to be a deck and a new addition, and we're proposing a stone perimeter drain. And the bottom right, we do have a small detail cross section of what that will do. That will capture the first inch of rainfall for the new addition. And we're also proposing an anti-tracking pad. So access will be off the existing driveway, but instead of mud running down on the driveway, we're also proposing a stone anti-tracking pad during construction. I believe that's pretty much it. If I have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And also, Michelle Ford did the boundary clarification for us, and she is a certified soil scientist.
She also did a wetland report that was submitted initially with, prior to any applications being made, including the tree removal. So that
Correct. That should be part of the record also.
Yes, she did talk about general functions and values of the wetland system there. So this is existing lawn area for those who were on the site walk. And the upland review line is here. So the majority of this project, with the exception of, some of these trees that were incorporated into the previous agent approval, are outside of the.
And just another note, the well radii of both the wells also preclude us from doing any septic on the other side further in the wetland reviews, outside the wetland review zone. So you can see the 75-foot radius on the front, and then there's also one to the top there. There's another radii. It almost knocks it, so we can't really put anything within the outside the 100-foot review for septic.
Oh, for this well.
Right, correct.
I have a question. Where's the reserve area?
So for existing construction, existing houses, no reserve is required. That's the health code. Reserve areas are only for new construction. And
Okay.
actually, they've been talking about in the health code, even removing that requirement, because typically when septic systems are repaired, the installers typically just tear out, rip out the old system and replace it with new material.
Okay, and this is the septic system size for a 3-bedroom house?
Yes, it is. Yep. And that's totally code complying, and it meets the MLSS, and we have the calculations on the plan.
Okay, and the red circles are trees that are to be removed?
Trees to be removed.
And does that include the
Correct.
stump removal? I know we've talked
Yeah,
about.
so originally he was going to grind them, and then during the walk he changed his mind, and they will be removed and replaced. And that we are proposing a wood chip berm prior to excavation.
Around each of the.
Just in this area or?
Correct. Yeah. Yep. That's just typical. So that I didn't put that on every single one, but
So
that
each one to protect.
correct. Correct.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions for the applicant? No questions?
I'm just taking a quick look. I'm sure somewhere on the plan it does say when the wetlands were reconfirmed. I'm just not quickly finding it. I just wanted to triple check the date is on there.
Let's see.
I know your signature is on here. I think that would be on a note. Yes, it's on the bottom here. I'll show you. It says, it's the bottom note.
Oh, no, it's note 35. Note 35 on the plan.
Yeah, let me just,
Okay.
actually, it's under where I have the closed captions showing, which is really challenging. I don't know how to get us out of here, but here it is. It's down here.
It was December. Yeah, December
13th, 2022.
Right. Yep.
It is note
Okay.
35 on the plan. I apologize. It was blocked from where I have my captions showing.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh
Oh.
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to share that I did just a basic staff synopsis, essentially everything that Chuck had just indicated, that the tree, the stump removal has been updated on this plan, as well as additional ENS controls. And I offered a draft resolution for the staff's consideration, or excuse me, for the commission's consideration as a starting point. I'm happy to share that if you're at that point, unless you have other questions.
Right. Are there other questions from the agency members?
No.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Martin.
Oh, I like the stone tracking pad. I think that's a nice addition. Obviously, when that comes out, that will that ever be reseeded, basically, or?
Yeah, that will return to lawn.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a nice touch.
Well, I think that's necessary, especially out on Cops where we have some down gradient, nice wetland system, and we don't really want to have any sedimentation in the road. We've had issues with that on adjacent projects, and ends up right in the wetland. So I do think it's a good.
That's in addition to the paved driveway. Typically, the stone tracking pad would be at the road, but we didn't want to destroy his driveway, so we're catching it before it goes on the driveway, and the driveway will pick up some additional.
Nice.
Okay. So here is our
Staff memo
Yep.
dated March 6th. And at this point, here's where a draft resolution is available.
all right. Do I have anybody ready to make a motion? Everyone's
We are
thinking?
citing specifically this site development plan to be referenced.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead.
All right. You can second it though.
All right.
I'll make a motion that the agency approves application 23-07 for 304 Cops Road for a brand new install of a septic system and tree removal and the stumping as presented on the site plan tonight, March 6th, 2023.
And do you want to reference the staff memo with all of the conditions?
I would also like to reference the staff memo with all of the conditions that we're looking on the screen right now. Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Second.
a sec. I got a second.
Third.
Okay, excellent. So we have a motion, we have a second. As you look at the resolution, are there any other conditions or issues or anything else that you'd like to discuss before we vote? No?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, all in favor of approving this application as stated in the memo, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
All at
I,
once? Okay. All right,
Hey, thank you very much. Aaron, as usual, thank you for your help.
IT at its best for you, Chuck.
I need your logistical help. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Chuck.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have quickly moved on, which is great. Quickly is the key word tonight, to receipts. So we have 3 receipts. And remember, what we need to decide is if they're significant activity, do they need a public hearing? We need a site walk. So our first application is 23-09 Stone Road. And this is for a regulated activity permit to construct a single family home with hot tub within a wetland review area. I will just say, having walked this property before, that I am highly in favor of a site walk. This is a property that has a buffer. I'm pretty sure it looked like it's the same one. This has a buffer around a 50-foot no mow or, kind of restricted area around the wetland. It's not, it's a little more stringent than our usual. And I think, Joe, you've been on this one before,
Right, for
and Bob as
subdivision.
well.
And there was
Yeah.
the adjacent property where the access easement comes across. That was a subject of regulated activity permit with you not that long ago relocating the access. And there is a required buffer as part of that, that regulated activity permit. So yes, it would be helpful. And I know it says it's Stone Road, and that address, just for your knowledge, will likely change to a Neck Road address since the lots front on Neck Road and the access is off of Neck. I think we've determined that they're going to move in that direction just for emergency services and deliveries and things of that nature. So you may see this as a different address at your next hearing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's fine.
Was this the guy with the pastries?
Yes, this is the guy with the coffee and the pastries.
Okay. Not that he has my vote,
Okay,
but they were
good.
good. Okay.
It's the adjacent property owner now, so we may have to bring our own pastries, Joe.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Yep.
So I think unless people are opposed for some reason, I definitely think this should be a sidewalk on our next schedule, whatever day it is.
I
We have to
agree.
vote on that?
Uh,
Or we just, we don't have to vote on that, do we?
I think we voted that we're having a site walk that coming up. It's just a matter of what the agenda is. I don't think we have
Okay.
to vote on that.
We do have a regularly scheduled site walk on March 18th, which is a Saturday. If that date doesn't work for the majority of the commission, I can send that out as an email and at least get a consensus of whether or not folks are available. And we can go from there. I know March is it's another short month where we may and we have some conflicts with training seminars on some Saturdays, but we'll do our best. At least we have one date on the calendar now. But it should just be a general consensus from the commission that's if you're looking to walk that, and we'll add it to the agenda and notify the applicant.
Okay. I'm going to take that as a general consensus.
Okay.
Excellent. Our next is 23-10, 66 Signal Hill Road. This is for a regulated activity permit to install and grade a driveway within the 100-foot review. Are there thoughts about doing this as a site walk? Or Aaron could take photos.
This one you
You
could really
guys-
go either way.
Yeah, you guys actually have to talk a tiny bit. Somebody.
So I know where the location is for the driveway along the wetlands. I just don't know what the topography is like.
Right. My default is if we're going out for site walks anyway, especially, something like that, it could be helpful to see it.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Okay, it's
Okay, excellent. I see nodding heads. I'm going to take that as general consensus.
so
Okay,
so Aaron,
Yes.
I copied a 11 by 17 of a site plan, and I think they mislabeled the symbology of the wetlands. Are the wetlands on the property of the Butlers?
It's on the wetlands are located on the adjacent property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't have the triangles to show that it's a wetland boundary, so that's my one comment. They mislabeled it.
Okay.
They
I'll
have
take a
the
look at
upland
it. That,
review. It's missing the triangles. And the driveway appears to be maybe 20 feet away, so looks like it's good to take a look at.
yeah, I think it sounds like we can add that to our steps for the day.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next one is 23-11 Munkertown Road. And this is one big project. It's a regulated activity to construct a new elementary school, pay parking, site improvements within a wetland review area. So I think that is definitely a site walk. What I don't know, Aaron, is if this is significant activity where we may have a public hearing.
I was
Uh,
going to ask if the commission thought it was in the public interest to have a public hearing.
I think you can see that the entire property is, there is some upland on the property, that's outside the 100-foot. But of course, because of the topography and the extent of the development proposed, the commission can absolutely pull the entire property within your jurisdiction for a regulated activity review. And being adjacent to the Neck River, I think reviewing your criteria for determining whether or not it's a significant activity, I think everyone from a staff point of view and even the applicant's point of view kind of assumed you would consider that a significant activity and schedule the public hearing. I think the other question, well, there are two questions. I did review the application and noticed that the applicant has included the proposed water main crossing of the Neck River on Green Hill Road in this application. And it's my suggestion, and I didn't realize that until Friday afternoon, because when we had originally discussed this, it wasn't conveyed to me that it was going to be one application. But it's my recommendation that we pull that wetland crossing for the water main, since it's a separate location, into its own application, and handle the Mungertown property, even though, getting water to the school is dependent on this crossing. I think they are two separate sites and should be reviewed separately. So I wanted to get the commission's opinion on that and see if you agreed with my initial thoughts there. And if so, I'll let the applicants, the engineer working on the project know that, and he can submit a separate application. And then the next item would be to determine if the commission felt that you needed any third-party consultants for this project. I can tell you that initially our town engineer has been involved in working with the applicant and reviewing storm drainage and our health department reviewing the septic as well as the state, I believe, reviewing that. I understand that the applicant is prepared to present DEEP analysis of the proposed septic system as though it were a DEEP regulated system. So that's really up to the commission how you feel on that. If you'd like to move forward as a significant activity and require some type of third-party review, or move forward as a significant activity without that aspect.
Well, I agree about the significant activity. I agree about pulling the water main out. Well, with respect to the third party, it is the Neck River. It's a big project. What do the agency members think?
So is this going to the Conservation Commission?
I don't know.
That's if you'd like to refer it to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, we used to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Gives
well,
us more
it's
time
not
to
a
find an
requirement.
expert.
Well, they're not professionals
Yeah.
as far as in
I
a
know.
significant activity, they're not providing expert testimony for you.
Right. The third party would be what we requested for the Barbary Hill Farm.
Similar to that,
Property.
yeah.
Would
Whether
be
it's
putting
a-
something out for bid and getting third parties to evaluate the application.
Correct, whether it's a wetland scientist or engineering services as well.
Now, does the town pay a fee for the experts of a conservation commission, at the regional level? 'Cause
No.
sometimes they're valuable.
No, and I don't know that association is providing those services anymore. But no.
I know the
we don't.
Connecticut River Coastal
Yeah,
Commission
we
does it.
are not members, no.
New Haven has one. Okay.
Yeah, no, we have not renewed that because
Okay.
I was not under the impression they were providing that service currently.
Okay.
Well,
So it
I guess
didn't
I would
seem
be in
worthwhile.
favor of some environmental review. And I don't know, so if other agency members want the engineering as well, or, if anybody wants to, or if you don't want the environmental review, I'm gonna throw that out there though. Get some discussion.
I'm all in favor of running the full gamut. I just will be requesting paper plans because right now I haven't seen the full scope of the proposal. But we shouldn't miss anything.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with both engineering and environmental support.
And engineering beyond the engineering department in town, or Martin's nodding. I'm just
Yes.
seeking clarification.
Sorry.
Okay, so we'll get third party for wetlands, environmental. And
Yes.
I guess the next question is, do we want third party engineering, or do we want to rely on the town engineer?
I have faith in the town engineer.
Others? You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Who's mulling it?
Yeah. I'm mulling and I'm thinking about, where the proposed wetland system is. I mean, where the proposed, septic system is and where the, stormwater management areas are. And, obviously it's a big and important wetland, and we also want to be consistent with, previous applications. I mean, it's a significant project, in a fairly sensitive area. Of course, I think the site location is excellent for the intended purpose, and the septic systems seem to be pretty far away from the wetlands up along the road and so forth. I haven't done a deep dive into this application, honestly, in terms of soil conditions, et cetera. I mean, it is a town project, and I think the town engineers probably has the capacity to review it from an engineering perspective. Doesn't seem to be any, direct wetland impacts associated with the school site itself. But it'd be nice to have another set of eyes on it from the environmental perspective, I think. Just for due diligence.
Okay. So that is great. I'm going to take that because I have to go in 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm like, come on.
Sorry.
No, because Joe's going to take over. So I agree. I think it's a significant activity. We get third-party environmental review, and we get the town engineer to review the engineering. And it sounds like he's already involved. And I guess the next question is, then I imagine you'll need to put this out to bid for the environmental part. And so we should just hold off on the public hearing until we get that information, much as we did for Barbary Hill.
Typically, we've used the 65 days to schedule the public hearing, just so that we could go out, and I'll prepare an RFP, send it out to a few wetland environmental consultants for review, and get proposals so that at your next meeting you can determine who you'd like to use. And then we'll have the public hearing scheduled for May.
Have we done a site walk of this?
No, this was just received. So these are our receipts. So, and that's why, we make the decision, site walk, public hearing, all of that, just based on our initial kind of cut, plus Aaron's expertise in guiding us through.
So
Okay.
we can schedule the site walk either for the next meeting or the following meeting, as long as it's ahead of the public hearing process. So I can check with the applicant's consultants and see what date they're available for. Maybe that's the easiest way. Does it make a difference to the agency if it's this month or next month to walk it?
I think it's
No.
fine.
Okay. Okay.
Next
I'll
month
see what
might
we
be a
can
little
coordinate with them.
difficult for me, but I'll do my best.
What
Oh,
are
right.
you due?
1st of May.
Okay.
Awesome. Mayday.
Good spring
Nice.
baby.
Okay.
So we could get, it's relatively flat. It's an easy walk.
Yeah,
Knock
Yeah.
on wood.
I recall having to walk in a Little League parade a week before I delivered my 4th. So you've got this.
I got
Yeah,
it.
we took my sister up on a hike, and she had
Well,
her son the next day.
With all due respect, Aaron, this is her first. The road is not paved yet. Sorry.
You don't want to take any necessary risks here.
Yeah. Well, I have to pop off. And I'm gonna let Joe take over. We got through most everything. Yay. Hopefully you guys read the
Thank you,
minutes.
Taylor.
Yay. And I will look forward to emails, and I'll see you guys on the sidewalk.
All right.
Walks.
You there.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Bye.
So with 2311, we're gonna go and get an environmental expert to help us. We're gonna go with town engineer. Is it a consensus to go to public hearing or a vote?
I would schedule that for a significant activity. I think that should be a vote, Joe.
Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to move that application 2311 go to a public hearing due to we thinking it's a significant enough activity?
I'll make a motion that we move 23-11 to a public hearing, given that it is apparently a significant activity, given the breadth of the project and the presence of
second
nearby wetlands.
And that will be for the April meeting. Do we have a second?
That may
I'll second.
be for May, Joe, for a
Bob.
public hearing.
Oh. What was the question, Aaron?
You had said that would go for an April meeting.
I believe,
For a
are
public
we gonna go
hearing?
65 days out or to April?
We likely will require the 65 if you're gonna have a third part to allow for RFP and
Okay,
awarding
then
that to a
it's,
consultant and letting their review happen.
okay, then this is for the May meeting. Okay. And I
I'll
think,
second it.
so Martin made the motion and I heard Bob second it. At this time, let's take a vote. All in favor of the motion for a public hearing in May? Say aye.
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 Um,
Thank you. Consensus. Okay, so that'll be a fun one. So that's it for receiving new applications. We now have a section 13 known as application 23-04. The address is 41-42 Wilshire Lane. There were pictures on the town website and all the record items. So
Yeah,
looks
Joe,
like,
this was one we talked about at our last meeting and said if the commission was comfortable, since this was a system that was bleeding out, if the ENS controls were pulled outside of the wetland boundary, that you would approve that as an agent approval. So that's just
Okay.
following up on that particular.
right, I got confused
recommendation.
with the violation. That's where the pictures are. So
Yes,
yeah, any
that's next
bleeding
after our
septic-
section.
okay. Any bleeding septic system deserves instant attention, so we should all be okay with that, section 13. All right, so thank you on that one, Aaron.
Yes. So the
Now-
Neck Road, Joe, was the next,
Yep.
and that is, let's see here. I tried to.
Me?
So yes, so Patrick joined us earlier in January for a show cause hearing for a notice of violation for clearing of trees within what we understood, we assumed was the inland wetland upland review area. And at that meeting, the agency amended their cease and desist order to a cease and correct order, directing Patrick to have an A2T2 survey done, have the inland wetland boundary delineated, and to work with, to identify the trees that were removed, and to work with a soil scientist to come up with some type of mitigation proposal. And that's exactly, and he had 60 days to complete that process. And that's exactly what he is back before you this evening with. And joining Patrick is Rob Sonicson, who is a professional engineer with Waldo and Associates, who can answer any questions as well. And Robert Russo was the soil scientist who went out to the site, delineated the inland wetland boundary, and also provided you with a restoration plan, a narrative, which was then reflected on the site development plan from Waldo and Associates. So that information is all on your records as well. So this evening really is to let the agency look at the plan. I know we didn't get out and walk the site. We have quite a number of photos, and now seeing actually where the wetland line is, making the determination if you think that's sufficient with what Mr. Russo proposed, and considering amending your your order to a further corrective action order to hopefully mitigate that violation. So Rob, I don't know, are you able to screen share, or do you want me to do that for you?
I would appreciate it if you would do it, Aaron.
Okay, sure, yeah. Patrick, was there anything else you wanted to add to that while we're?
Nope, I'm gonna make my only joke. I'll see you guys for the next 60 days, because we're gonna be back again probably next month and then the following month. So, yep. As Robert goes, so.
Okay, let's see. This is our plan, March 3rd.
Buys March 3rd.
Aaron, you want me to pull it up? I can do it for him. This is the way I normally do it for Robert. I can share my screen and pull it all up.
Yeah, I have it. Let me see this. I think this is the latest one.
Yeah, right here.
This one here.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So this is Neck Road here, the existing house and detached garage. And all these marks are trees that were removed. This is the silt fence that was installed at the direction of staff when we issued the original cease and desist order. The wetland delineation line is here. I'm assuming this is roughly the row of Phragmite. Is that how?
That's correct. That was something that was requested, and we took that off of aerial photography. The actual line is not crystal clear because there's some small shoots outside of it, but for all practical purposes, that's the edge of the predominant growth of frag.
Okay.
And I forgot, why were these trees taken out?
Patrick, you want to, or
I mean, it's pretty simple. I had storm damage from originally with a bunch of the trees where they had come down, some had topped off, some branches, a bunch of branches had fallen off, and that was during the windstorms in December. Long story short, that was why it basically all started. And then while the tree guy was there, we took care of a lot of the ones up by the house. That was basically it. He was there, so we started taking care of it. It was not clear cutting, to be clear. We did not delineate on the plan the existing trees that are still there, because there are trees still there. We just delineated the trees that were cut. And as you can see, the majority of them were not in the wetlands, because like I said, my original assumption was that it was tidal, but I'm wrong. So that is why any of it occurred, and again, originally wasn't, didn't come to the committee originally. So I don't know what else I can say outside of that. I mean, the plan's pretty self-explanatory. You have the upland review, or upland area, where we're delineating where that line is for the wetlands. And that's the idea around it is so there's a clear delineation of the wetlands themselves, and that was why that was discussed. The silt fence, like I said, was installed pretty much once I had the cease and desist, was one day after I had gotten that installed. So I'm trying to do everything I can, and even getting this done. We almost were going to make the last meeting. It was just a little bit too tight. So we didn't do it, but I had all that completed then. And like I said, I'm going to be in front of this committee next month, again, submitting some more stuff, and then probably the following month, submitting more stuff and some renovations that are going to be taking place on the home. So the plan is to do this spring, the plantings, when it becomes pertinent, with Bob Russo directing the planning process. Correct, Robert?
That's correct. And the plants that were selected are a great variety. In the wetlands, there's winterberry holly, arrowwood viburnum, and my favorite high bush blueberry. Those are in the wetland themselves, scattered throughout the area, which is quite open now, because it's outside of the Phragmites. We aren't going into the Phragmites area at all, but that's where the wetland shrubs are being planted. There are 8 of each variety proposed. And then in the wetland buffer area, which is really the area between the silt fence and the wetland boundary itself, we put 6 of each arrowwood viburnum, witch hazel, and spice bush, and that'll be a good variety, and it'll form a screen between the upland area and the wetland. So we think that the planting plan is appropriate for the nature of the wetland that we're dealing with. One thing that's important to note is that a certified soil scientist, and that's Bob Russo, really needs to individually identify where each of these plantings go. The plan is representative of what we're trying to accomplish, but because of the nature of the planting, you have to give a little bit of flexibility to the scientist where each one of these plants are actually best suited to be placed. And that's really what we're doing. We added all of the stumps of all of the trees that were cut in the upland review area, as well as the wetland. You can see that there's a note in the upper center portion of the stream that references a restoration note number 3, which says that the stumps that have already been cut of red maples that are in the wetland will be allowed to resprout. So that was something that we added. There are a total of 7 red maples in the wetland that were damaged and were cut down, and we're going to allow those to resprout, and they'll do a fine job of that. The rest of there's also an inventory that we submitted today of all of the trees that were cut in the wetland and in the upland review area, and I have it separated out for the lower slope area, which is sort of closer to the wetlands and not as high in elevation. Then when we start getting closer to the house, the elevation gets much higher, and it's much more of an upland setting. So I separated those out. The trees that were up in that area close to the house were cedars, some oaks. The trees that were down closer to the wetlands were red maple. And there was, I think, an elm or something like that also in that area. So that's the summary of the mitigation plan. And we're hoping that the commission feels that it's appropriate for the setting and the situation. We are moving forward. We did test pits. There will be extensive renovations to the house. All of that activities within the upland review area. So we'll be coming back and dealing with you going forward on the modifications to the site.
Aside from the future sprouts, did any trees make the cut and are existing, say like leeward of the silt fence? Or is it all open?
There are some trees that are remaining. There's some red maples certainly that are remaining within the wetland area.
Yes.
And I believe that the upland buffer area is primarily lower growth shrub. There were only a few trees that were cut in that area, but there weren't a lot of trees in that buffer area. On the wetland side of the silt fence. There are still some trees on the upland side of the silt fence.
Bob, also, Robert, also, just so we're aware too, there is currently grass that again was not really disturbed. Aaron, if you want to run a line across the wetlands where the bush line is, that's pretty much where those bush lines are, is where the grass is approximately. And that's why we're following that path. So there's a true delineation of what was existing, and what, you know, is kind of moving forward. So within that area, it was again grass. Again, it is a sloped lot, as you can tell. I mean, we're going from, you know, 20 feet, 22 feet at the road in a very short period of time. We're getting all the way down to 6. So again, there is a significant slope to the property, and that. So.
And the redevelopment is going to be taking place on the, what I'll call the upper plateau, sort of. One of the issues we have to adjust is that the existing house is built over the street line setback. And so the renovations will have to take place behind that setback line so that we can avoid the necessity of a variance. So
This is the upland review line here.
right, and then you can see right in front of it, there's a 30-foot building line. And portion of the existing house is over that line. It's a current non-conforming use. The renovations are going to strive to eliminate that non-conformance and build the house behind the building line, or renovate the house behind the building. But that's still a work in progress.
Yeah, and I think the goal from staff's perspective, and at least advising the agency, would be to handle the mitigation, you know, for the cutting of the trees as a separate item, give the property owner directive as to time frame for planting or monitoring those plants, and then allow them to move forward with a regulated activity permit that's a separate application. When you're dealing with a violation on a property, it's best to handle them not by receiving an application, because an application is essentially optional, but rather to handle that as a corrective action order where the agency gives directives to the property owner for that remediation. And just wanted to note also that in Robert Russo's report, he did indicate that there was no deposition of materials or anything of that nature, or no stumping of trees within the actual wetland boundary. It was cutting of the trees, and hopefully, as he indicated, some of those maples will resprout.
And also from an equipment standpoint, no equipment was beyond where that silt fence is. That's why LaFada and Sons, when they installed it, they specifically installed it right there to any disturbance or any of that, because that was a concern about any equipment in the wetlands or, you know, in the vicinity. As you can tell, it was a pretty good distance away from it with any equipment or whatever. So there was really very little disturbance outside of the trees, which again, sorry. But other than that, that's really it, unless Robert has anything else to add.
No, and the shrub planting will all be done by hand, so there won't be any equipment that will be required to be running around down there. They're good sized shrubs, but they'll be hand planted.
And just to, oh, sorry, Anna, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, could we just reconfirm? I don't see it anywhere, but there's no herbicides being used, right?
No.
Nope, none whatsoever.
And the pile of the stockpile of wood chips, I know Rob
Bob
Russo
addressed it in
indicated
his letter that he was
he
okay.
did, as far as future ENS control for that, and I guess that's something just to run by the agency to let you know that that's the goal is that is a large stockpile, and it's in the upland of wood chips, but could be used as temporary ENS control measures during construction activities. And if you're comfortable with leaving that there, allowing the applicant to apply for his permits, then that can be addressed as part of the actual application.
I was out there the other day and that wood chip tile, it's sort of on the slope, but it's very stable. And I walked around on it. It's not going to be going anywhere. And we've had some real good success with using wood chips as a supplemental environmental erosion and sedimentation control feature. And we'd like to leave them where they are, put our plan together and incorporate them with the landscaping as appropriate.
No question. Bob Russo, looks like he did not do the cut tree inventory.
No, he did that. It was actually the three of us. It was
We
Bob,
collaborated.
Robert, and myself the day all out there making denotations of all of them. And Robert was in charge of taking the notes, and Bob was the one determining what was what and the size of it.
Okay.
That
Bob
was the
Russo-
exact process, correct, Robert?
Okay,
Yeah.
but Mr. Russo's not on the call.
No.
No.
that's right.
Okay, so in looking at, the aerial view, I did drive by the site and get a good look at it. So the Phragmites are basically growing along the northern edge of the property, right?
The Phragmites take up almost 3/4 of an acre of the property, of the
Yeah.
actual property. The property's line actually goes all the way to the other side, almost adjacent or almost connected to the pool of the house behind. Right
Sure.
up to there is where the actual line is. So there's actually a lot of Phragmites on the property.
Yeah, and that's the north side of the property, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so basically where the wetland plantings are proposed and the area that was disturbed is all southern exposure.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so it's very sunny, and so forth. So Phragmites loves the sunshine. So it thrives in sunshine and semi-shade. It doesn't like the shade. So the more trees and the bigger canopy that you have, the less likely Phragmites are to intrude into those areas. Now we had trees planted there before, casting shade. Now we're proposing shrubs and shrubs only in an area that's going to be receiving a lot of sunlight. And I would suspect that in the future, the Phragmites are going to be very happily intruding further south into these areas where the shrubs have been proposed. I'm surprised that Bob didn't propose reinstallation of some trees, some larger trees to cast some shade in that area. And I respectfully sort of disagree with the resprouting of the red maples concept. I've seen that in action many times, and they don't last long, and they don't grow trunks, and they don't provide good shade canopy for any time in the near future or far into the future. They tend to be rather unhealthy in terms of structure. So I don't really hang my hat on the resprouting of those maples that have been cut for future shade for that area. I think that the shrubs are lovely, but in light of the Phragmites are a big gnarly beasts that are all over the area, certainly. And I think that a big southern exposure against those Phragmites will only give them a chance to come and intrude into this area that's been cut in terms of an overlying shade canopy. And I don't feel that the proposed plan provides adequate shade for that area that was previously there.
Martin, do you want me to trim the Phragmites back?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I think it is within the agency's purview if you wanted to amend the planting plan to incorporate some some shade trees in there that are, water tolerant.
Yeah, I feel that, the shade trees
I think that's,
were removed, so that should be the restoration. Bob is a great guy and he knows what he's talking about. I'm just confused that we're not installing some shade trees in this area for
I
restoration.
kind of,
of
I
what was
kind
there
of agree
previously.
with Martin's feelings. That's why I asked the question is, are there trees still down there?
Yes, there
So,
are.
should this be a site walk?
well, it could, or you can
Drive by?
determine that within your, within the wetland area, that in addition to the the shrubs that are being proposed, that you would like a certain number of native trees to be
So
installed as well throughout that
this is
area.
this is
Reasonable.
still coming back as an application, correct? Or is this just
Well,
a
not this
mediate?
particular, not this restoration. This
Okay.
should be handled as part of
We're-
your corrective action.
Joe, I'm just
Okay.
trying to remove the cease and desist is right now is
Yeah.
all I'm trying to do.
Okay. I'll
So
try to-
Martin, I have a question. What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting maples? What?
I'm suggesting that Bob Russo make some recommendations for installation of some shade trees along that boundary.
And you can recommend a minimum caliper, or size, a certain height. And leave that up to the wetland scientist to choose the native species. That's fine too.
Yeah, and I mean, and looking and scrolling back through the Google view over the years, it looks like there was a fairly decent canopy in that area.
Because again, I don't know, Martin, did you see the one that was uprooted? That was
Yes.
old and uprooted?
Mm-hmm.
That was the same thing that happened to a couple other ones. It's the same thing. That's what's going on there is that, again, if you want me to plant trees, I want to appease the committee and move forward is really what I want to do. So.
I think that.
Any
that-
other? Okay.
Yeah, I'd recommend installation of some trees that would quickly establish a canopy in there. Trees that are 20 feet tall, 15 to 20 feet high, with some overlapping canopy, provide some shade in there.
That's a tall
Is there a
tree.
way for us?
That's a big tree.
It's an extremely tall tree, which one, I'm not hand planting that by any means. I'm craning that in, to be perfectly clear.
Well, so I think some of that, if you'd like to have a growing season currently, but if you'd like to have more information from Bob with some recommendations for trees, you're welcome to invite Patrick back to your next meeting in April and hold off on any further action until then, or you can take the initiative and make your recommendations for restoration. What, I don't know, Joe seemed to be in agreement with Martin as far as the need for planting or for shade tree. I don't know, Tom and Anna, any thoughts?
No, I agree, but is there a way to prove it with the condition that those trees would be included?
You can amend the planting plan to indicate that you'd like the wetland scientist to also suggest, you provide the number of how many, and, typically it's either a height or a minimum caliper tree for planting. I mean, a 20-foot tall tree, I don't know, maybe Rob, you can correct
Yeah,
me if I'm
well,
wrong, but I think that's,
Well, 15 to 20 anyway. Yeah, 15 installed.
what I was going to suggest is that we modify the planting plan and submit a modification request. I don't know if that's going to put us into the next meeting. But my suggestion is, I think that the trees that were growing most vigorously in there, even though some of them were getting uprooted, were red maple. And I think that probably that would be the direction that we go. The red maples will thrive in that area. I think that they will provide a good amount of shade. And I don't think it's going to take more than 6 or 8 at the most throughout
I
that
mean,
period.
I didn't cut that many trees down in there, Robert. There weren't even that many trees.
It
There were
says 6,
7. There were 7 in there.
7.
So
Mhm.
we're talking about 6 or so. And we can spread them out. One of the things is there really aren't any,
Or 5.
there weren't any trees farther toward the east. The growth of the trees were really concentrated in sort of the western portion of that wetland area. And so, we can add shade. But that's where the frag is grown, and it was growing without really any significant, it's all shrubs in there, and it really wasn't growing with a lot of significant shade. So we're really modifying the system by adding shade to discourage the Phragmites. But I think we could scatter them. I think there will be resprouting. Sometimes they're not the most vigorous, but down in the wetlands behind my house, they resprout like crazy. And so the thing is I think that one of the things that I really like about this is the mix of wetland shrubs that we're putting in. I think that they'll really be of significant value for wildlife, and it'll be a very attractive buffer. And I wouldn't want to tinker too much with that, but we can add some shade trees in the wetland. I don't think that since the Phragmites is already well back north of the wetland boundary, I really don't see adding shade trees into the buffer area. They'd be planted actually in the wetland area where the 7 trees did come down.
Yeah, I understand that, these trees are probably blowing down because the soils there are pretty deep and organic in and around where the Phragmites are going. And if the proposed new trees could be maybe a little bit further up the slope, sort of on the wetland boundary, I think that they would stand a better chance of surviving versus getting blown down. And they would dig
Martin,
in
just-
nicely, and they would also cast some decent shade since they'd be on the southern boundary of that wetland, casting further shade to the north.
During that storm in December, there was water in that backyard. And that did not come from, that's why originally I thought the whole thing was titled, because I saw Phragmite and whatever. But again, I personally think it's going to be a difficult area over time. But I again will do what the committee would like me to do. So like I said, I can move forward and appease everyone on the committee and move forward. Now, my question is do you want us to come back? Like I said, we're gonna be submitting most likely a plan of some renovations that we're looking to do on the property. Do you want us to come back then at that with having the tree planting and combining the two? I'm also trying to be efficient with time because I know everyone's time is valuable and I don't want to, keep coming back for, one thing where we could maybe combine something or that. I know, Aaron, you said you shouldn't do it, but I'm asking because they're asking for a modification.
Well, it's not a modification. I think the agency has the authority to take the wetland scientist's recommendation, and if they feel they would like some shade trees added to that, they can incorporate that into your resolution, for your corrective action. And I think that's reasonable. And it's just a matter of the agency deciding if that's the way you'd like to move forward. And if so, how many trees would you like, shade trees would you like to be added, and a recommendation for size?
For these, Aaron, is this something that, we could approve tonight, and then after the installations were complete, that you would go out and check the plan versus, what's installed and sign off?
So typically, yes, it would also be my recommendation that there be some monitoring, just as you do with any wetland restoration or buffer planting, that you have the 3-year monitoring and have, an annual report provided to the agency as far as the viability of those plants, and that at the end of the monitoring, you have a survival rate of 80%.
Okay.
I would give, it would be my recommendation that the corrective action has a deadline for installation of plants. My recommendation would be the end of June, so that you can get them installed this spring, and then have them already hopefully established ahead of the real heat in the summer.
Okay. Yeah, it's in your, the monitoring is in your resolution. Our chair is back. I'm willing to entertain a motion here, unless we have, more discussion.
No, I think we're ready for the motion.
Okay.
I can screen share that if you'd like, and then
Yeah,
you
that
can
would be-
amend it as you see fit.
Yeah, that would be great. Yes, yeah, put it up. I have it on my screen, but I'm kind of missing the application number.
Is that large enough?
Yeah, that looks good.
There's no application number. It's a violation, so it's just the address.
Okay, for 144 Neck Road. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, with all due respect to the applicant and their professionals, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution as proposed by our inland wetland agent for 144 Neck Road, with the conditions as stipulated. In addition to the planting plan as proposed by Robert Russo in his letter dated March 3rd, 2023, I would like to suggest to the commission that we add the installation of 8 additional trees that would provide shade along the wetland perimeter, trees that should be installed no less than 15 feet in height, and that they be of the species recommended by the wetland scientist of record. In addition, condition number 2, the applicant should have the wetland scientist monitor the health and viability of the plantings for a minimum of 3 years, and that they should be have a survivorship of 80%, and that all sedimentation erosion control measures be maintained during the course of the project to the satisfaction of the wetland agent.
Thank you, Martin. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Anna. All right, so a motion and a second on the that mediation plan and all of the conditions read off by Martin. Let's have a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 That's a consensus. I know Bob had to get off the Zoom. He is listening though. So I think that's 4-0.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
You guys in
Thank you,
a month.
Mr. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Boudelier. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Rob.
Yep, thanks,
We
Aaron.
look forward
Aye.
to the progress.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, we have a letter from the DEEP about some pesticides being applied in the future somewhere in town, Aaron.
Yes, so this typically comes down from the state. I'm not sure how the agency handled these previously. It's, for informational purposes for the commission, pesticide treatment for aquatic invasives. Treatment of a pond. And so it's really just informational so that you know where we're having these treatments occur.
But
That's all.
so I think this is in front of the DEEP. So we technically, if we had concerns, we could give an opinion, correct? Do you think there's anything to be
Yes.
concerned about?
Well, we're spraying the pond, but it's,
Okay.
this is regulated.
For the
through the state.
basic lilies and all those underwater stuff?
Right.
Okay,
So I'll just, as we continue to receive these, I don't know how many Madison actually, we used to get them all the time in Guilford.
Yeah.
And we would
it's
just
that
let you
season.
know so that you can see. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not concerned. So, okay. Moving on, we do have 2 sets of minutes.
Yeah, actually, these are a typo. Because we're in March, so these should all be our February meeting minutes. So my apologies that there is a typo on this. So I think it's probably just as easy to table these until our next meeting and we'll get the dates right. And
Okay.
because I believe these have already been approved at your last meeting. So
Yes,
sorry.
they were.
Our fingers are moving faster than our brains sometimes.
Mhm. The efficiency is
feel-
overwhelming sometimes, I know.
Okay,
Can't keep
so
up with
next month we'll
ourselves.
get February 6th. Yep. Okay, we'll look forward to those next 2 sets of minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on. As the acting chair, I just want to say, Aaron, you've been doing a stellar job since you came to Madison.
I love
know
you
we have a-
serving as acting
I know we
chair,
have a
Joe.
future agent coming in. We'll look forward to that day, but until then, keep up the great work and thank you.
God bless you.
Well, thanks. We haven't been very successful in our hunt for candidates for our
That's a-
land use official position. So
Hmm.
lucky
That's
for you,
amazing.
you're stuck with me for another month.
Maybe you need to hire like a local consultant on an hourly basis.
So we do. We actually have. I have hired Tyke Planning and Policy Group to help in an interim capacity 1 day a week for zoning related duties. I haven't yet sucked him into inland wetland responsibilities because he's been keeping busy with zoning. But if it's something we'll really have to consider if we can't find any candidates. But I'm hopeful we're expanding our advertising. So spread the word if you know anybody.
Excellent.
It's sometimes hard to draw in for a municipal gig.
Another 15 years, I'll retire and maybe I'll do it,
15 years.
So when you retire,
way,
you should
this is-
retire and be done.
No, there'll never be retirement. I love
That's
it.
the
too
sad
much.
truth these days, isn't it?
I'd rather die than be crippled on the edge of the swamp.
Okay, Aaron, are those your
Sorry.
comments?
Yes, I have no other comments. Thank you.
Nice
All right.
job, guys.
There is a motion to be made to adjourn and try to catch the rest of the Huskies. Anybody?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, we adjourn.
Second.
One
Okay,
thing,
Tom, motion.
just one
Martin,
thing,
seconded.
the sidewalk, I know we did the other one a little earlier. Our next sidewalk, it starts at what time?
I don't know yet.
Okay,
I may have to, yeah, I'm gonna have to juggle that. If you liked the early, we're more than happy to do early. We could have either 2 or 3. I have a pending soccer tournament in Westport that day, so perhaps Maria may be helping in field responsibilities, walking with the commission. So we'll kind of
yeah,
go over that and send out an email as far as your
Right.
availability. Hopefully we can get everybody together.
I'm
Awesome, man.
flexible. That's fine.
The 18th is tough for me. I know that we're gonna send out an email to see if people could do it. I have
Yep.
this every other week thing when I'm out of town. It's a long
That's what you
story.
said, yeah.
Yeah, so if I don't know if people could move to the 25th or even this weekend, I'm good with that. I'm just putting a plug in for myself. So I'd like to go.
Okay.
This Saturday, I'm hooked up watching lawyers talk.
Nice.
Yeah, this Saturday is the Bar Association
Oh, wow. Excellent.
seminar.
Good for you.
There's a possibility for the 25th if we can't get consensus for the 18th, and we can just handle that as a special meeting.
Okay.
So let's see what we'll see what we can figure out.
Thank you,
Um,
guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Tom has the motion to adjourn. Martin seconded. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye,
Bye.
at 8:28.
Good job.
Excellent.